Hey guys, my name is Cynthia. Thank you for tuning into my channel. We are recapping episode 4 of season 10 American Horror Stories, part 1, which is Red Tide. I know that was like a mouthful. I'm glad I said it right. So, opening scene, we see the chemist who we met on the 3rd episode driving, and she comes to P-Town, Provincetown, and she meets Holden, who is also a character we met last episode, who said he was an interior designer, but here he seems to be a realtor, I'm not sure how you say that. Showing her a house, and he's trying to like make small talk, letting her know that he's been in the area for like 50 years, and she's just like asking him, well, I'm looking for a quiet place. I just got out of a messy divorce. How's the insulation in this house? And he gets suspicious, like, hey, like this area is known for 2 things: drugs and gays. So like, insulation, quiet, what are you doing? And she like lets him know, oh, you know, I'm a scientist. Sorry, not a scientist, a chemist. I just want, you know, quiet place so that I can do my business. So he's like, okay. So he lets her be. So then the next scene, we see her taking out all her equipment, all her fancy little, whatever they're called, cylinders, or, you know, the glass stuff. And she starts making her potion, her pill. We get the little, you know, glimpse of it, or of how many she got. And we see her at Muse, so the only one restaurant in the city apparently. And Holden's actually there as well. And we see Mickey, who's talking to Holden, telling him about this trick he knows, but Holden's not interested. He's like, hey, scram, leave me alone, you know? And what I found interesting is, like, if Holden has been there for 50 years, you would think he knows Mickey by now, or is Mickey new in town, or maybe he's already like dealt with Mickey before, who knows, right? So, okay, the chemist overhears him, and she actually reaches out to him, and she's like, hey, do you do girls too? And he's like, yeah, you know, he's just looking for some money. So yeah, he does girls. So they go out, they head over to her house, and we see him kind of like just looking at her equipment that she uses to make the pills. And she's like, hey, don't touch anything. So then he gives her like his little rundown, like, hey, I charge this for this, and this for this, and you know what, I'm doing a Halloween special, so I'll do anything for $20. So, you know, just give him $20. He's desperate. So I think with this, like, this is why she opens up to him so much, because she feels the desperation. So she lets him know, like, hey, I'm a chemist, I just want to talk. I work, or used to work. That's what I'm not understanding, like, if she used to work for the government or she still does work for the government. So she lets him know about the study that she was working on with pills that they were testing on primates, because they wanted to use on humans to be able to control them, you know, on soldiers and stuff. And she just basically tells them, you know, the really talented ones are able to like do amazing things with the pills, but then the ones that are not so talented or don't really have any skills, like, they just become really aggressive, and they actually ended up tearing the other primates limb from limb. And Mickey's just like taking it all in, and like, whoa. And all of a sudden she's like, so do you want to take a pill? Like, offering it to him. And he's like, hell no, like, no. And she's like, well, don't you have a talent? Isn't there something that you wanted to do or anything? And she, you know, he lets her know, like, I'm a writer, but I don't think I'm that good. I don't want to take the pill. Can I just have my money? And yeah, because I'm not interested in your pill, which I don't think she was expecting him to do, because I think she read him as a really desperate guy. So I think she thought he was going to be her first test dummy. So then She gets some money out of her pocket or whatever. She gets his money, hands it over to him, and lets him know, hey, you know what? If you can find me anybody that is willing to take this pill, I'll give you $50 per person that you bring to me. So, you know, Mickey takes that in with him, his money, he leaves. So the next scene, I don't know how many times am I gonna say this, right? So we meet Miss Belle Noire herself with her gray long hair, and she's all dressed proper, or like her husband later tells her, like a teacher, a school teacher. This is before she's all famous and rich and stuff. So we learned that she is an author. She's written her first book, which is called, what's it called? The Cherry Tree? I don't remember what the book was called. I think it's something, but it's about George Washington, Martha, and, well, it's a racy tale. She reads a scene at a book reading, which only like 3 people show up. And out of those 3 people that she reads it to, none of them end up buying her book. And she meets the chemist, who actually walks in and buys her first book. And she autographs it, and she tells her, oh, hey, you're really talented. And Belle's response was, oh, will you tell the publishers for me? And then, yeah, she leaves. So then we see her with her husband, and he is a work. Like, he's just like mean. Like, she tells him, why didn't you go to my book reading? You said you'd be there. And he's like straightforward, your books are disgusting to me. Like, you talk about all this sex stuff, but you won't even touch me. Which, like, I'm like, okay, like, you're married and you are writing all this, but so this couple clearly has issues. But still, then, like, that doesn't excuse the way he's talking to her. And she's trying to like say, oh, let's do something, let's go out to eat, let's go watch the sunset. And he's like, do you think I'm gay? Like, he gets all offended, and he goes, I don't want to do some boring stuff with you, blah blah blah. And, you know, just totally disses her and basically tells her that he's gonna do his own thing, and walks away. So she's left on her own. So she finds herself going to the Muse to get herself, you know, some dinner, wine by herself. And there she meets Mickey, who approaches her and tries to talk to her. And she's just like, I'm married, I'm not interested. But then he like tells her, oh, hey, I saw you, I know who you are, you're an artist. And then she's like, you at my reading? And then we find out that he's actually not even allowed at the bookstore because he's stolen some like scripts or something, or some plays. So I think that's hilarious. So they're talking, and all of a sudden she's like, hey, do you have cocaine? Because you look like a drug addict. And then Mickey's kind of like laughs it off and goes, okay, well, I'm not offended because I am, but no, I don't have that. And he gives her heroin instead, and she takes it, and then she's all dancing by herself, you know, like that song, dancing by myself. Okay, I probably shouldn't be singing because, yeah, might get in trouble for that. It wears off, so she comes and tells him, hey, give me some more, I need some more. And he basically tells her, it doesn't work like that, like your first high is your best high, but you'll be chasing that high forever. But I know something that will like make you feel better. So that's when he, I guess, tells her about the pill. And they end up going to the chemist's house, and there the chemist is trying to tell her like, hey, because, you know, they've already met before, like, you're really talented. Like, she makes him wait a little bit just so that she could read like her whole book, novel, whatever. And she tells her, like, I'm gonna get, you know, you're gonna take this pill, do you want to know the side effects? And she's like, no, give it to me, like, I don't care, I just want to be great, whatever. So she takes the pill, Mickey's there, I'm pretty sure he gets his money, and they're out. After she takes the pill, she goes back to her hotel room, and she's like writing, like all excited, laughing to herself, and her husband's not there. And then he shows up, like in the morning after she's already written like 400 and something pages, and she's like, oh my god, like I wrote a book, and she's like all excited, kind of tell him, but also she's like, where the hell were you? And he was like, let me see your book, and he reads it. This wasn't you, it's good, whatever, like it's good, this couldn't have been you, like totally dissing her, you know, not seeing her talent or not giving her the credit, whatever. So that outrages her, and she's like, I did write this, you know, tells him all about her day, like, oh, you know, I got high and this, and then I came back and read, you know, wrote this freaking book. Where the hell were you? And he's just like, oh, I went to this thing, or like this Halloween thing, and then I met this girl, and then, you know, we did the nasty, and then we fell asleep, and then we woke up and did the nasty again, and, you know, just like straight out about it, like, oh, and I'm gonna take a shower and I'm gonna go do it again with her. And this just outrages Belle, so she like freaking gets a glass as well, smashes it and slits his throat, and just, you know, drinks his blood, because at this point, like, that's all she can do. If she slit his throat, she's gotta drink the blood, right? So yeah, and she goes back to the chemist with blood all over her face, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, why did they make it such a big deal when Alma had all the blood, all kinds of people were reporting her, and now Belle, she wasn't suspicious, right? Or maybe back then it wasn't suspicious, but yeah, Alma was totally suspicious when she had the rabbit blood, but Belle over here walking with human blood all over, she's fine. So she goes to the chemist, and she like lets her know, like, yeah, like, I cut his throat and then I drank it because I felt like if I didn't drink it, I was gonna die. Like, I can smell his blood. And she was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, she knew. So she's writing everything down because Belle's an experiment. So she needs to write down all her notes on her, just as well as the first pale guy. So then she like Belle tells her, am I gonna have to keep drinking blood? And she goes, it's just gonna like make you not want to take the pill. And she just kind of like stays quiet. And then the chemist tells her, you know what, the first thing you need to do is go hide your husband, like hide his body. So she goes and does that, and then we get a scene on the beach of Holden walking his 2 greyhounds, which he did mention he had before when we first met him, and he's the one that actually discovers the body. We go 2 years forward, and we actually see Belle, you know, in Provincetown, and she goes into the little store boutique where Lark works, and she meets her, and she like tells her about her success and how she's looking for a new wardrobe, you know, maybe gonna get herself some shoulder pads. We learned that Lark is also on the pill, and she's been on it for some months now, and she even shows her teeth. So Lark tells her, hey, I could do yours too. So totally just skip this scene. Right after he gets out of the chemist's house the first time, when she actually offered him the $50 per person that he brings, he goes to a bar and he meets a TB Karen, who looks a lot better, but she still tells us that, you know, she's doing a lot better, but she's had bronchitis 4 times. And like, bronchitis 4 times, like, girl, that's not good. Like, if that's not treated, you can get like pneumonia. But I don't know, I'm not a doctor or anything. But then he like tells her like, hey, you're a painter, right? Like, do you think you're talented? And she like kind of thinks to herself, and he's like, you think with a little bit of help you could like be someone? And she like kind of like thinks to herself a little more, and she's like, no, I'm shit, like I'm not good. And then meanwhile, while she's talking, saying that, the first performer, or not first performer because we don't know that, but a performer comes up stage and he starts singing, and like I guess Mickey approaches him. We don't see that part, but the next scene that we actually do see is him going to the chemist's house and saying, hey, Mickey sent me here. And then we know that he took the pill by that. So later we find out that I've skipped so many parts at this point, guys, I'm sorry, that he just wasn't feeling well. Like he actually ran into Mickey another time at the bar, at the Muse, I'm not sure where, and he saw him and he's like, bro, you're not looking good, like, you know, you look sick. And he looks kind of like, not like, he looks sick, but he also looks like he's like fidgety and like kind of nervous. And he orders a Bloody Mary, and right away, like, he runs to the restroom to throw up, and notices his hair is like falling out, or like he could just pull it. So then he goes back to the chemist to try to figure out what's going on, like, what's going on with me, like, what you give me. You know, I shaved the rest of my hair because if not I was gonna look crazy. And she's like, well, are you, you know, have you had aggression? And he's like, no, like, I'm a Baptist. And like, he just tells her like, no, like, I don't think you gave me the right dosage, I need more, you know, and I'm super cold. And she's like, okay, well, you're probably cold because your jacket is way too thin, go get yourself a proper jacket. And yeah, so he leaves, and this is where he meets Lark, you know, who we met already, I think in episode 3 or episode 2, I'm not even sure. She's also the dentist that shaves down the teeth. So she actually sees him, she compliments him on his appearance, and she is the one who gives him the stylish coat. He goes up to her, tells her, you know what, I don't have a lot of money, but I need a coat. So he's looking through this rack of like vintage jackets, and he picks the one with the biggest shoulders. And yeah, then we see him off. We see him at the cemetery where he's just standing there with his coat, and he sees a woman who's just, you know, looks like she's praying, and he goes up to her and she's like, you don't look so well, you want to pray with me? And he's like, all kind of like not really talking but just nodding. And he just, as soon as she's like closing her eyes and praying, he grabs a vase that has flowers and he slits her throat and drinks it, and he's covered in blood. And he races to the chemist's house because he's freaked the hell out. So he tells her like, oh, I killed somebody, I drank her blood, you know, like, why is this happening to me? And she like lets him know, oh, like, you know, it's because you need the blood because you're low on it, because now you're on the pill, but you know, also you're getting sick and everything, or everything that's happening to you is because you're not talented, you don't have what it takes. And I feel like this, like, the way she says it is so cold. Like, I felt for this guy because he's like, I'm a Buddhist, I'm like a vegan, like, he just seems like a nice guy that, like, I don't know, I felt for him. Like, I felt like, I don't know, like, he wasn't a bad guy, like. So, and also when I heard his voice, it didn't sound that bad. So I'm just like, And then she tells him, you know, you're not talented, you don't have what it takes. And I feel like that just makes him snap. Like, he cried a little bit and then he just snaps, and he like tries to like launch at her, and she takes out a gun like, whoa, mother, you know, like, back up, get the hell out of my house, never come here again. So, you know, he just leaves, and he happens to see a guy in the alley, like, they're puking his guts out because, you know, he was drinking. And so what does he do? He goes and attacks him because, you know, he has to get that rage out. So next scene, we're going back to Belle. So we see her walking the streets with her new hairdo, her new wardrobe, and, you know, she's the Belle that we saw in the first episodes, with more confidence. So she walks up to a bar or a club or a restaurant, whatever it is, and we learned that it's like drag night because she gets charged because they got to pay their performers. She walks in and we see Evan Peters dressed up in hair and makeup and all that in a woman outfit. He's in a table with other drags and with Eureka. We know Eureka. She's Crystal Decanter, I hope I'm saying that right. And they're all like picking on him because they're saying he's an ugly female and that his stage name is no good, Patio Furniture. So that's an interesting one. Like, I kind of think, like, who came up with this? Ryan Murphy or Evan Peters? Because we know he's a producer on the show. So who was it? Like, Patio Furniture. Like, come on, guys. Like, you couldn't have thought of a better name. Like, it's funny. I give you that because it's just like it's random. Yeah, so he gets called up to the stage to perform and he does his thing. He starts dancing, lip singing, and at the end he even gives himself a little, grab of the booty. And Belle's drinking her drink and watching him the whole time. And towards the end, she approaches him when he's by himself, like playing the piano to himself. And she's like, "What are you doing here? Like, this isn't for you. Like, why are you here?" And he basically tells her, "I'm a writer and I was talking to somebody. I came down here because I was talking to somebody who said they would help me with to get myself out there, get myself published, or like a screenplay," I think he says. But he just disappeared on me. And he describes the guy to Belle, and turns out Belle actually attacked him. So she kind of owes him, and she's like, "Hey, take this. It's gonna help you. It's gonna help you turn whatever needs to be turned on in there to help you get where you need to go." And he's like, "What is this?" But he doesn't really ask that much and just takes it. And all of a sudden he has like some kind of attack where foam's coming out of his mouth. And he's like, oh, like, what you give me, like, what you do to me. And she's like, "How do you feel?" And he's like, not like fearless, hungry. So she says, "Well, let's get you fed and let's get you some revenge." So they head over to where all the drag performers were actually staying, and we see that they're watching a show with some boys eating pizza and just talking among themselves. Eureka's like totally full of herself, saying, "Oh, I should have been on this show. I'm so amazing," talking herself up as she should. She's a queen. Belle comes into the door, like, just like busts it open, like if she lives there, and they're like, "Hello, like, who are you?" And then Evan Peters, Austin Summers, comes in after her, and they're like, "Ugh, you're with him." But right off, Belle starts shooting, and Eureka runs, and the rest of them all get killed. Evan starts attacking one of the girls that made fun of him, and Belle starts eating somebody else, I think one of the guys or something. And then Evan notices that Crystal like takes off, so he like tries to chase her, but she gets out. And then Belle's like, we can't win all of them, but just when we thought, well, actually, I don't even know if we thought, but when Crystal thought that she was kind of like in the clear, where does she end up running? To the cemetery. And we know that the cemetery is not safe, because who likes to hang out at the cemetery? Mr. Shoulder Pads. So we see the first pale guy, which we don't know his name, or maybe I just don't know his name. He attacks her, and that's where the episode ends. And yeah, so that's what happens, and I feel so bad for him. Like, that's one character that I feel bad for, because I feel like he was a good guy, and then he just didn't really know what he was getting himself into. And then my question with Mickey is, like, him and the chemist must have fallen off at one point, because why did he need to steal the pills from Belle? Like, if he could have just gone directly with her. But then also we see when he takes Ursula, like, she kind of gives him like a dirty look, like a dirty look, kind of like, like, you shouldn't be here. And he even told Ursula himself, like no one's allowed to be there anymore. So something bad must have happened to him. Well, not to him, to the chemist, or with their relationship, or I don't know, or me, because it doesn't seem like she's doing her experiment. It doesn't seem like she's doing her experiment anymore, because then why wouldn't she, like, why wouldn't Belle and Austin tell Harry, like, hey, somebody wants to, like, see what's going on with you? Like, it doesn't seem like he needs to go check with her. Like, he doesn't know anything about the chemist, so I guess we don't know why her whole, like, observation or experimenting and all that is over. But maybe we'll learn that, or maybe it'll just be something that will be unanswered. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was somewhat interesting. I know that I rambled on a lot. It's my first review of American Horror Stories. I was trying to do it from the beginning, but I wasn't able to. But I'm still in time for the second theme, so I will be doing more reviews. Go ahead and leave me your comments down below. Tell me what you think is gonna happen next, or if anything I missed, or anything you want to comment. Thank you guys. Bye.